So you guys hear me talking about big rocks a lot, and maybe you don't understand the reference. Maybe you haven't heard the story before. So I do want to bring it up. And for those of you guys that listen to the podcast, you might have heard one of the episodes, 8 Golf Balls with Mel. And this is sort of an allusion to that story. And you can use it with golf balls, you can use it with rocks. The metaphor sticks, right? So the story goes that there's a professor that came to class and brought a jar, mason jar, big jar, it doesn't really matter, and plopped it on the desk. And he asked, guys, is this jar full? And the class, of course, says no. So he gets golf balls out of his briefcase, or maybe it could be larger rocks, and he puts it inside this briefcase, this jar. And then it seems to be full to the brim, and he asks the class, so guys, is this full? And the class says, yes. And then he opens up his briefcase again. He gets some of these smaller rocks, or maybe some pebbles, if you want to call it that. And he pours it into the jar, and it sort of makes its way to fill in the cracks between the golf balls or the big rocks. And then again, guys, is this full? And of course the class says, okay, yeah, now it's full. I get what you're saying. And then he goes into his briefcase and he gets some sand, and he pours the sand into the jar, and it fills in even more. And then he asks the class, is this full? And they say yes. And he says, of course, yeah, it is full. But this is a metaphor for life. These golf balls, these big rocks, are the things that are very important to you, that you want to prioritize. Because if you were to try to fill this jar in the opposite direction, you would never be able to fit those big rocks in. If you tried to put the sand in and the pebbles and then the big rocks or the golf balls, it would not fit. You have to fit everything else around these big golf balls, around these big rocks. These big rocks are, for most people, family, work, health, that kind of stuff. And then there's smaller rocks and pebbles and sand that fill in their life around them. And for where it comes to fitness, the big rocks, the physical activity, non-exercise activity, the amount of steps you get, the exercise, the sleep, the nutrition, being in a calorie deficit or whatnot, the protein, the hydration, the big rocks. If you focus on the big rocks, everything else is just details. You fill it in as you need it. But if you try to do it in the opposite direction, you wouldn't hit the things that have the most effect on your goal, or the things that should be priorities. So remember, when I'm talking about big rocks, it's alluding to this metaphor, but it's really specific to what we are looking at to help make your goal a reality.